All right, so here we are in the duos tournament. We are now in the semifinals. I am doing this video post game, so I'm going to do my best not to give anything away. Um, but just a quick rerun. The duos tournament's been going since February. It's been a long standing process. Just to give you a background, we played a pool play. There's 4 groups of 4 teams. So, or roughly there. So, roughly 30, 32 players altogether were involved. My team is Rocky Road. It's myself and Terrence. Terrence was a number 1 Axis player. Uh, I learned a lot throughout the whole thing. So in our pool, we played the other 3 teams. We played once as Axis, once as Allies. We went 6-0 in that. We had some very tough teams in there, including Snake and Emray. We got the top seed out of our division. They got the number 2 seed out of their division. And so that got us in here. First game was against Fatty D2 and General AM, both number 1 players at one time in ranked. And that video is on my channel from that game. And so we moved on. And here we are playing Novo Prospectus. This is Julius and Amund, 2 phenomenal players, 2 players I would put into my all-time top 10, top 20, um, really top 10 players that fall in there. And you guys hear me say that a lot. I mean, a lot of people get top 10s, right, throughout the seasons. Not everybody who's a top player is playing in ranked. Like I haven't played ranked until this season for, I don't know, 4 or 5 seasons now. Um, but I definitely have who I would consider in the top. And I rank myself in like the top, I don't know, 25-ish or so, maybe, if we just talked about overall play. But these both are very good players as well as Terrence. So it's going to be a great game. I will give a little shout out that the Allies use a unique approach, so definitely worth checking it out. Now, here comes the bad news: is because this game's been going for a little bit and I've been saving, somehow or another I deleted my round 1 video. I forgot my round 2 video, and so my actual live as I go videos, so to speak, will start on round 3. So I'm going to do a little bit of a round 1, round 2 because they obviously are very important rounds. Run through using the duos, screenshots that we have, Discord, excuse me, screenshots that we have, just to give you a catch you up to the point that the video will actually start going at. And then there's also one turn I had to be on vacation, so I had to do snips, which I'm going to overwrite some video or commentary on it here as well as a post game edit. But otherwise, enjoy it, and here we go. We're going to jump right into R1. Oh, I should start with the fact that we did start with a bid. So their team ended up winning the bid for Allies with a 7 IPC bid, meaning that they're going to build a transport on US1 and just float it out in the middle of nowhere. So they spent 7 IPC as US, or will spend. That being said, I don't know if the tournament organizer listened to this or not. We did go a little bit creative in our bid process, that they actually won the bid at 6. I pulled out my imaginary lawyers, and I talked to Terrence. I said, hey, this is a semifinal game. It's going to be publicized on Discord. We want it to be interesting. So we offered them, if they took a bid of 7, 1 extra point, that we created some rules that would create a relatively neutral R1 so that they could not have a devastating Ukraine. We would do a restart if they had a really bad Ukraine. We had some counterplay in there that if it was a exceptionally strong West Russia, Ukraine, that we'd have to redo as well. It actually took us, it was great for getting a relatively neutral game, and I say relatively neutral, but it took us 6 attempts to get the game started. That the first 5 R1s were heavily swayed one way or the other. So this ended up being the starting one. It met our criteria, but nonetheless, 8 infantry in West Russia survived, which is tough. Immediately, Terrence and I already considered this game. Allies shifted after that. even with the 7 IPC bid, as I'm going to give you a little background look into our chatter just on this first turn, just because I find it interesting. So in essence, 6 is a normal, right? So it's just 2 infantry, but the bid essentially was an infantry and artillery, right? 7, but 2 infantry starting in the center of the board versus 2 way off in America makes a big difference. So that's why we felt like this shifted back towards Allies' favor just off of R1. And so just a little looking Terrence and I's commentary back and forth, a little open the curtain behind the scenes. If my computer's going to cooperate with me. So this is a conversation back and forth between Terrence and I, and right off the bat, gross 8 infantry in West Russia. Probably need to start taking some chances here. I mean, that's how much R1, what seems like such a small deal, is. I mean, we're already talking, okay, we need to come from behind, um, at the beginning of this. So I'm not going to bore you with all of our talking, but all of this, all the way down to about right here, is us discussing Germany 1. Uh, but the part I am going to highlight, because I think this is something that you all should be doing in your one-on-one games. And I see people not do well on this with their one-on-one game, with coordinating their powers that be on the same strategy. So we need Axis to be on the same pattern, So this here might, outside of all the other stuff, I gave him, he has better inside on Axis. He was definitely, the stronger Axis player. So I told him I'm going to follow his lead. At Germany 1, if he doesn't buy a bomber, then I'm not going to do Pearl Harbor, because they go hand in hand. Why do Pearl Harbor if there's no bomber? The whole point is to disrupt the Atlantic Fleet. But then I said, if you buy a bomber, then I will hit Pearl, because they go hand in hand. And then 2, if you say get to Moscow ASAP, then I will prioritize a second IC, then get 5th transport, and not go for the 6th likely, and just be focus units up the gut through China. Versus if he tells me try to plan for a long game, then I go for 2 IC plus 2 transports, or get the second IC plus 2 transports with the goal to have Hawaii, Australia, New Zealand all on J5 to set up income game and then push. So, and these are all different ways that I play Japan in my regular solos. So this is my income game. Get the income set up really quickly, where we got the I would have actually 2 more ICs going on there, 1 in Quang and 1 in Manchuria, plus have Hawaii, Australia, New Zealand, and Madagascar all by J5 is my setup. So that it slows down the push through China, but it sets you up with income and production quickly. Or, like I said, if he says let's go aggressive India and Victory City, then I set up that way through my Japan play. So, we talked about being super aggressive and just throwing everything in G1 and Karelia. Get us an 8 infantry. They have a very strong strafe potential, but hey, we're already looking at battles that we could do to come back. We talked about conservative, 1 infantry in all those bordering countries, but he's somewhere in here. He just flat out says if we play conservative, we're gonna get wasted, and he's absolutely right against these guys because they're that strong. So then we also talked about mini stacks, and ultimately that's the way we ended up going was mini stacks, but his Ukraine battle didn't go quite as well as planned, so there's 1 tank there. And so this was really actually it was a very weak mini stack, as we expected there'd be a couple more infantry sitting in Ukraine. So a weak mini stack, it was the best we could do, but we figured if they have to attack 3 different places, that's 3 different sets of battles. We just need one of those to go poorly to make it an okay situation. He did do a tank buy with 9 infantry and artillery, I believe. Yeah, 9 infantry, artillery, and a tank was the decision on the purchase, by the way. So we did not go bomber. So moving on, UK1 was most important thing. He did drop an Atlantic fleet, but the most important thing is right here. C-Zone 61. They lost C-Zone 61. Didn't even kill the destroyer, actually. And this is a huge shift of the game back to Axis favor, right? And immediately when you see that, alarms start saying, okay, J3 India, J3 India, J3 India. And so that's what was going on in my mind. Now, you can still put a pretty good defense up. I know people say it's impossible, but it's not. Good Allies players can defend India J3 still. So that was kind of my concern. So they did skip killing the battleship transport, which meant he had the carrier sitting over here. And this is one of the things that I looked at going into the J1 play is I'm thinking max attack on India. I have my two fighters here. I decided to go two fighters versus the carrier with the mindset that if I killed the fighter and the transport, killing the transport takes out the chance of sending this infantry back to India. So that would take 2 units plus 4 and 2 6 defensive power out of the game for defending India. Meanwhile, I'm attacking with 2 fighters, which is 6 attack power, and there's a chance that one of those, an okay chance that one of those fighters could even survive, and so I would be able to take out 6 defensive power, 2 units, and only lose 1 with 3. Unfortunately, that battle did not go as planned. Where is it? Season 33. I killed his carrier, and that was it, and lost both my fighters. So both his fighter and his infantry lived. I lost both my fighters. It probably was a risk I didn't need to take, but I was really trying to go for the Grand Slam, as it was. Meanwhile, uh, you can see the setup. One of my things, we did hit Pearl, which I did go light Pearl, so I only sent 4 units. So I did have some good news there that I just lost my submarine and cruiser, but got his fighter and his carrier, and I did not have to sacrifice a fighter. So I lost 2 fighters, but I saved a fighter and Pearl. Coming around, this is after US and Russia's turn. So key part here is Russia built a 4th tank. He moved infantry down into Persia, and you got all his tanks down here in Caucasus. So it's obvious here they're going for a India defense at this point. At this point, I did do my calculations, and even with the potential of doing a J2 3 bomber buy, they were going to be able to defend India because they committed these units, bought a tank and committed these units down here. So I've already decided J3 India really is off the table. Their concession is they gave up West Russia, and that's really what it boils down to, those strong starts for Axis. Either you got to give up West Russia or you got to give up India. Different players go different routes with it. They chose to head this way, giving up and conceding West Russia, basically. So this was after German 2. We went for a double stack of Ukraine Karelia, very strong position for Germany. We did use a transport to help there. Unfortunately, we did forget to move the battleship on non-combat up there, but otherwise, very strong position here, going for Germany at the end of G2, and stacked France here, as you can see. Nothing super exciting happened on UK 2, so this is the end of Japan 2. Just to talk a little bit about what we did. So like I said, I had already calculated the J3 India. I was not guaranteed a J3 India, so instead I bought a transport and a factory. So I went with this bit, knowing that we weren't going to be getting a J3 India, and started pushing quickly, heavily into China. So there's 7 and 3 going right into China. And so our decision was, let's just head right in there. Let's try and get a double pinch. Since Germany has a strong start, let's get a quick pinch on Russia. You'll notice I did set up they had the 3 infantry down in Australia, so that's one of the reasons I went ahead and bought the transport factory. I decided to have 2 transports down here to set up. I'm bringing my bomber back so that no matter where they put those infantry, between this we should be able to have a decent attack on those units, and take Australia, and then start spreading. from there. So that gets you through round 1 and round 2. From here, the game should pick up live content going forward. All right. I hope you enjoy the game. Stay tuned. If you don't want to watch the whole game, if you go to the very, very end, I'm going to try and remember to bookmark it. I do a synopsis of the game as well towards the end. So take a look for the bookmark in the comments for how to jump to the synopsis if you would prefer. Oh, shoot. I realize I have been forgetting to record my duos game. So I apologize. We're gonna have skipped into the future a little bit because don't think I did J2 as it is. So in the end, I decided not to try to press J3 and pressing through China. The Allies countered with starting a Kaza stack, which allowed Germany to work on a West Russia stack. U.S. is doing their allied thing here. Ugh. Germany had two mistakes, unfortunately. One, forgot to move the battleship to protect the transport that we used up here, so we could have took out a fighter maybe, but also forgot to move the German troops this last time. So we've had issues with our Africa troops not listening to us. So this is where the board came to, where Russia, obviously they're going to have to get back into Moscow. But I think they're still going to be able to hold the Kaza stack. The play I was going for here in Japan 3, and again I apologize I missed 2. I'll be on top of this going forward. Is I really wanted to be able to get to sync because up here, if I just had, these guys, he's going to be able to come back and stack Evinkai and even have a chance to make a breakthrough up there. Plus, if I get into sync, it gives me the opportunity to be able to trade these two next turn rather than be stuck here trading this one and losing those. So it's pretty important, IPC bit and positional. The problem that I ended up running into, which I'll come back to that, is they did have 3 infantry here, so I took an infantry, artillery, bomber, battleship, 50-50 battle, won that. So that's good news. Let's see. We're going to be working him back this way. Even though I could use him for New Zealand, I want to get my bomber back going that way. I did a 2 infantry, 2 fighter versus 2 infantry battle here and lost this. And the issue with doing this setup of going to sync is it does open up the possibility for US 1 to hit here, and then Russia with 3 fighters and 2 tanks that can reach the coastline 2, and then that leaves a bomber fighter that could hit the C-Zone 61 as a 3. So it leaves up to 1, 2, 3. Thankfully, they only got 1 UK fighter here. Sometimes it'll be like 4 or 5 UK fighters here, and you got to watch out for that. We're protecting on that. The other part of this that I was hoping to avoid is having to come back, shift back down in order to bring troops up. But now, in addition to what we were just talking about, if they did a 1, he then has a tank, an infantry, a bomber, and 4 fighters, right? These guys can go 1, 2, 3, 4 that can hit here. So he's got a pretty strong UK just attack on this group. I was going to do 4 units and 4 units so as to make them, if they decided to try to do that 1, 2, 3, they'd have to choose where, and then also would have to use both Russian fighters to get there. But now, unfortunately, I need to make sure that I protect Yunnan here, and 4 units against a 1, 2, and 5 air isn't gonna pull the trick. So, in any case, we are going to continue. We did need one Japan fighter in West Russia to make that a little bit safer. And I do want 3 Japan fighters up to there. Because of the 1, 2, 3, and that it'll have a battleship, a bomber fighter that could attack, I'm going to put my battleship carrier here. That leaves a bomber that can hit here, so we're going to bring carrier destroyer back to protect that one. That does leave this battleship naked, unfortunately, which these 2 U.S. subs could come hunting down, and we may just have to play the 50-50 battle with the subs. So, we'll see. We'll see if we have to do that or not. So, like I said, unfortunately, I was going to divide, basically I got 9 units, ground units here. I was going to divide them between the 2 here, the 2 zones here, but now I just need to load them here because of this failure. All right, there we go. All right, so this is our duos game. So just to kind of review, I started again. I forget I was recording this game, so I started my turn again already. So I apologize, but just a visual quick look at what's happened since last time. We still got a stack going in Kaza here. We did pull our Germans out. We took a little bit of a risk, 2 infantry and a fighter. They still had 4 fighters and a bomber in the range that they could have hit it potentially for profit. But then what we did is we moved 1 German infantry here when they had 1 infantry here in Persia. So we knew they probably would want to try for that. And you put the 1 infantry here thinking maybe they'd try for that. And so then, even just taking 1 air out of it made it kind of a 50-50-ish battle there. So by leaving 2 Germans there, we were able to save the 1 fighter. So that was nice. Good news here, we also got this huge stack coming from Berlin up this way, while we still have Italy stacked and Berlin stacked. And we do still have these dead zone. We did the calculating, and so France is still dead zone, so they can't go and do a stack on there. So feeling pretty good. We got a lot of units moving towards the eastern front here. They've got very little up here at this moment. So yeah, so that's what we're looking at right now. I just noticed they got a freebie of 2 transports. I hate seeing free transports up there, but there's nothing we can do about that. Still feeling pretty strong. We got a pretty strong position where we're at. So that being said, our goal going to West Russia, get them pulled back into Moscow and to Kaza, was successful. Potentially, they could move all of this into here. And I just had another thought that might come into my head. So anyways, they could move everything into here, which could lead to us having a little bit of stale down. But once we move these 15 units in and build 2 plus these guys down here, that should be able to push it back. Unfortunately, right now, there's not quite enough to completely dead zone it. So if they really want to do that, they could do that. But of course, I'm expecting them to use their U.S. to take the Caucasus back for them. And then they could push their Russians in that way if they want. But if, of course, they do that, they probably need to take these 3 tanks, and they'll be breaking the stack here, which I'm hoping to break anyways. But then once we move these guys in, we should be pushing them back out. Plus, Japan will be coming into here. So if they do go here, then we may be able to go into Arch to pull them out of West Russia again. So we got a lot of potential plays here for G5, G6. So we're gonna see what exactly Russia does will dictate, but we're hoping to be in back in West Russia G6, and by doing that, trying to pull as many of the units sucked back into Moscow as possible to hopefully free up Japan, either J6 or J7, while West Russia's commanding their attention to hopefully get into Kaza at that point. So I wanted to figure out what gets us our best chance of getting to Kaza on J6, most pressure, Kaza J6, J7 in particularly. Now, one thing I hate to show you is they killed my transport down here, my battleship transport. I'll be honest, I completely overlooked the fact that the bomber could come from India down to here to New Zealand with the sub. I mean, it's just over 50% battle even with that. So I don't know that I would have changed anything because we did need to protect here, and we needed that transport here, and we needed to protect there. So I don't know that I necessarily would have changed anything. It's really unfortunate that we didn't at least kill the sub. So that means, New Zealand, Hawaii, and Madagascar never got completed. But we really want to push hard up the middle. I don't really want to buy another transport right now. So that's, 6 IPC basically switching to the allies that ideally I like to have all of them by J5, J6, and we're not going to have that. So they're going to get, a +6 switch per turn their way, -3 for Japan, +3 for allies. So that's a little bit bitter, frustrating. With the 2 subs up here and the sub still hanging on here, it's going to make it really tight for us to go get them as well, just with our protection fleet. So unfortunately, we're in kind of a little bit of a predicament here. Anywho, what we did figure out is, we're trying to figure out when to build the Kwang Tung factory, if to build one, as well as the the 5th transport to go get those other stuff. And to get that max pressure, J6, J7, I got out the pen and paper, calculated it all out. We're actually going to hold off on building the factory. We're not going to save to build the factory. We're not going to build the factory. We're not going to build another transport. This transport's going to come up here so that we can get the full 8 shucking going this turn and next turn. And as it turns out, even though we could save and build the factory on J5, we're going to do some tanks on J4 and J5, and then J6 build the factory to then start pushing units in. It ultimately on J8, what it does, it costs us 2 ground units and a little bit of attack power. That would have been built if we had built this on the factory on J5. So we're going to take it so that we can get that max pressure of 5 additional tanks J7, 2 tanks J6, 5 tanks J7 on Kaza versus the other route. So 5 additional tanks on J7, but J8 we drop 2 ground units and a little bit of attack power, and then everything should even out after that. So that's why we made the choices we did. These are the attacks. So I'm using an infantry artillery here to attack this one guy on Thailand. Should be a good battle. This one, again, we're going to use 1 infantry and a bomber because I want to stack these 2 against this, so as to hopefully push them out of here as well, which means I'm just blitzing this guy for this turn. So that's the plan. Really need to win these 2 battles. Hopefully they go well. First round. Let's just do it. How many rounds can we go? There we go. Oops. Alright, come on, bomber infantry. Bomber infantry, let's go. Let's see a 5. Let's see their infantry roll a 5. While the bomber does his job. Oh. God, well, he rolled a 5, but the bomber didn't do his job. Alright. 3. 3, 3, 3. Here we go, number 3. Gosh, dang it. Burma, the cursed Burma. Three, 4, they're not going to be breaking through there. I think I got everything. We just got to figure out what I'm going to do with my boats there. I kind of want to move them while we're buying time towards the subs and make them move a little bit. Let's see, 3 infantry, 2 artillery, 3 tanks, 4 fighters. Good. I'll take a look at my defense profile later. What do I want to do about these guys? Kinda thinking I want to do this type of thing. That way if they start to come out, you could put them up here, right? Then they could come that way. This kind of helps keep him in bay. Alright. So anyways, our build was 9 infantry, 2 tanks. I'm going to put the 2 tanks here so that they can go 5, 6. 3 tanks there next turn can go 5, 6, or can go 6, 7. So that's the plan, and I'll wrap it up here. The only thing I'm just going to do, I'm just going to think a little bit harder on my boat placement. I kind of leaning towards doing this because there's nothing that can hit here. And they can't do a 1, 2, 3 to punch through. There are no other bombers around other than this guy, and he can't reach that C zone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They can't blitz through, so I'm thinking I'm going to do something like that. I can always just pull them right back if I need to. But to start sub hunt party. So, all right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording here while I triple think through this. All right. So I'm actually kind of remembering my recording before finishing my turn this time on the duos match here. So this has gotten interesting. So the U.S. pushed through the Mediterranean to Sea Zone 34 here. And this makes a very interesting play because they can now reach DEI. I'm actually surprised they put the sub in 36 because that actually helped me a little bit. But they do get their two U.S. subs hunting over on this side. We got the air coming through, as well as the bomber here. We got to watch out for. So here's the big play here. Is I could dead zone Sea Zone 37 with bringing my air back and my boats and whatnot, and be ready to take it back. But what they can do is send a transport, sacrifice a transport DEI, throw a cruiser into 36, and then I can't take it back this turn. They can fly all this air down to India and then fly it into DEI, and so we could end up having 10 units sitting down here, and so that could be a huge huge delay and distraction. At the best case scenario in that world, I lose 8 more IPC from them having an extra having DEI for an extra turn. So I really want to come down and stack C Zone 36 here. So we want to stack 36, bring one transport down here with at least one infantry. Messaging my partner as well at the same time here. So I need to have at least one infantry, so then I can grab the Borneo guy and hit DEI to take it back. That's what we're looking for, is bringing my fleet mostly, down here. But I still need my shuck to keep going because I cannot disrupt my ground units going inward. So 3 of my transports need to come back up here to shuck units on over. And I need to double check that actually now that I think about it. Make sure that I can non-combat move with a enemy sub in this zone, because then we're going to drop a navy here. I'm going to pause for a second. I need to double check this actually now that I think about it. And yes, I just went real quick and double checked to make sure I'll be able to unload my non-combat move transports with the sub here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna build 3 boats to put with the 3 transports. It gives them like a 20% chance with the subs to hit and kill my 3 transports. Not what I really want, but I can't really afford to spend too much more money on this boats, because we really need to keep the ground going, because this situation is getting ugly. So interesting. At the same time, when I got to pull my fighters out, that means they can keep. They're going to be able to keep Moscow and Kaza stacked actually, and still defend against the Germans coming in. And then the following turn, they have 12 units coming in, and essentially 5 to 7 units a turn that they can pump in from India and U.S. coming into Kaza going forward. And I can't dead zone here. If I can't dead zone, then I can't pass my tanks through to Caucasus, unfortunately, for Germany try and stack it to stop the bleed here. So this is actually gonna be trouble. It's an interesting tactic. The good news is it's leaving Germany, without as much trades going on. So Germany's getting kind of strong here and has a lot of infantry going throughout. But it is going to create an issue right here. And now that I have to spend money on boats, that's going to slow up my infantry production going here, because I was going to be buying a factory this turn to increase my unit count, but instead I'm going to drop my unit count from 11 to 8 this turn. So, and then I'm only actually being able to shuck over 6 this turn and 6 next turn. So a little bit frustration here. You know what? What do I got going production-wise? We got 40. We're gonna get one, hopefully two back, so we'll have 42. I'd love to get to 48, but that's not gonna happen. So I need 3 infantry going here. I need 4 in here, so I need a minimum of 7. So we're not gonna make it anyway, so might as well go ahead and build them. All right. So yeah. So the timing of all this, I got to stack season 36 so that we can retake DEI the next turn. That means I got to build here, so that's going to cost me. And then the fact that they're getting this stack here, I'm going to hope. I did kind of some counting. So J6, I got to come up here and shuck them to here. 7, 8, J9 threaten here. J7, I'll be able to bring them back down into here. J8, J9 threatening here. So I'm hoping the 6 and 7 shuck coming in on J9, plus being able to, again, J6 with my fighters, J7 hit DEI, J8 get them back on the mainland, and J9 be threatening. So I'm hoping that maybe J9 I'll have a flux of units come in that could then maybe break the Kaza lock here. We'll see. So there we go. We are buying the 8 infantry, 2 destroyers, and 1 sub. So, like I said, I was surprised they moved the sub here because they do have the bomber that could reach here, and the sub, if they moved him just slightly off, somewhere where they could still threaten, but not be in C-Zone 36, probably would have been better because now I can let the battleship take this shot. We're going to let the fighters take out the guy. I want to stop letting them have free trades. And am I happy with this? I feel like you get that feeling sometimes like you're forgetting something. I'm having that feeling at the moment, like I feel like I'm forgetting something. Can he do anything useful? I mean, we could take some pot shots, but not really worth it. Because I want to make sure he's alive. So, yeah, no. Don't think I got any other attacks this turn. Thank you for somebody hitting. I think we got him. Ah, of course he hit back. Right when we're needing some good luck here, because this move really kind of turned the focus, because
you know, he'll be able to bring these guys back. He can bring these guys back in here, and you still take DEI for the disruption, but it already forced me to buy, you know, 22 IPC worth of boats just by bringing his fleet out here. Do want to check my defense profile real quick. Okay, we're looking good there. So now we're going here so we can... Actually, you know what? 1, 2, 3. Let's do this a little slightly different. Put him down on the tip here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he'd have to put him in here, which he can move over 3 fighters in. And oh my goodness. But I'll have 3 transports I could bring over. So, ugh. Alright, let's see. Got 6. Got my 4 tanks. Got 6 coming in. I need to leave 9. That gives me 15 and 4. Feel like we're safe with that. And up here, this gives me... Let's look at this. We'll have an AA. And we're going to have, what's that, 12 and 5. And we'll have 3 tanks there. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. I'm gonna move the bomber down to Italy so that he can go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 if they somehow went in there and took that. Alright. Frustrating again that we did not win Burma again. I was thinking about moving 1 infantry up to Evenkai. Do I want to do that? That gives me 11, 5, 3, and an AA. And we're looking at a 12, 4, 2 strafe and a 4, 1, 2, 6, 1. Man, this just gets kind of tight, but yeah, I think I want to do that. Prevent the freebie there, and maybe be able to trade Vologda back next time. So I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. Terrence, don't hate me if it was the wrong thing. All right. And we go. Mobilization. We got to put all our boats into here. There we go.
Right. So at this point, I was on a vacation and I was on my laptop, and I could not really record on my laptop. The pictures are going to be fuzzy. I did take some snapshots during my J7 turn as we go. So this is my during the purchase phase, and probably the biggest thing, if you've been following, you look, is right up here is what we did not want to see at this point, is that they did take the win, that 20% battle that I gave them, and took season 62, wiping out my transports, which unfortunately throws off my timings, my purchases, everything that I had calculated out for J789 already is not looking good at that point, at this point. Um, Germany, we did decide to stack Italy. Germany is still a beast over here, and got Karelia stacked up there in the corner. So attacks are pretty straightforward. Burma, Novo, taking Bull. Um, Not much. Oh, yeah, and killing that stinking sub that survived. Pretty straightforward. I forget exactly what my purchases was, and I forgot to go look that up. But I know it included getting the transports back up and running, obviously. But the loss of momentum with those transports being dead and having to rebuy them is a huge shift. But we felt in a good position before that, so we knew it was a huge swing. But you can see we got huge German stacks, and so we did decide to continue to fight this game out. Felt like we had some opportunities still. So this is just the after the end of the turn, after non-combat move, you can see he decided to stack here, um, partially with the flexibility of our tanks being able to get around. We did need to block from a 1-2, so we had some fighters coming in here, and we did get the, by the way, the U.S. We fleet did go back into the Mediterranean. I forgot to mention that. The second part of this is the northern aspect of it, as I did send a mini stack up here so that we can be able to trade for income. Some of these up here, and they can always come back down where the three come back and meet back in sync and restack into sync to try to shift back and forth while still getting some income play here. So sorry I don't have much more. You can see I did actually a 4 transport buy there. And like I said, I forget. I'm sure I got the 3 infantry too, so it was probably 4 transports, 3 infantry to be honest. So there we go. We were supposed to be buying a factory this turn. That for Kwang Tung, that did not happen, and instead this is our setup. Hello. I started going again without realizing I'm in my first battle. I forgot to move the rest of my troops in. Hopefully we still get a hit on the first try, so it doesn't matter. Thankfully. Yay. So I'll come back to after we go ahead and do this other battle real quick and what we did. So just had the 2 attacks for Japan. We are in if you remember in this game, we're in a tough spot. We were winning. We gave up losing the Japan fleet to a 20% battle that U.S. took, which smartly took. I ain't gonna lie. There's no reason for them not to take it. We just got bad luck, unfortunately, and so we're trying to find ways to come back into this game. I actually was tempted to try for a round 9 victory city. I felt like we could get about a 35 to 45% hold chance on all the German territories that we needed. The tricky part was going to be especially India to pull it off. We only have to worry about U.S. retaliation, but the problem is U.S. has got this trickle of anywhere from 3 to 5 units going through TJ. Plus, they've got various fighters and bombers in the area. So I'd have to really take India pretty strongly, and I'd have to use the Japan Air to help reinforce Europe. So it produces a challenge to take India and be able to defend it versus U.S. I felt like maybe I could have got down to 50% chance hold.
I didn't calculate it all the way out, but that was kind of where I was hoping I could get to. Um, so, anyways, we decided to go ahead and not go for the round 9, and so because I mean, I'll be honest, Terrence is the better access player. I really trust his judgment on here. So the reality is we could stack West Russia and Karelia, stack into here Sinkang. Germany can stay here in G9, and Japan can come into Novo, and hopefully that'll pull up with Germany, Japan sitting here. That'll pull enough allied resources up here that we can then dead zone trade Kazakh at least. Now it still means the allied forces can still sneak through this way, but starting to dead zone trade that until we can take it over. At least we can at some point turn off this spigot down here. Whether it's soon enough or it's too late, I don't know yet, but we're just going to have to see. He did fail at taking Burma, so I went ahead and took the advantage to go ahead and get Madagascar. I'm a little worried about this play, actually, because he can only get 2 U.S. fighters and a bomber here. That doesn't worry me. 1 UK bomber and UK fighter doesn't worry me, but he could, if he really wanted to, go 1, 2, 3, build a carrier and drop him here. He'd really need to build 2 carriers, which, if they really wanted to, they could bring the US in here, build a couple carriers here, drop them, and then turn this into a KJF. And I got nothing back here to protect me in that regards. But I just feel like they've got a big enough lead that they just don't need to take that kind of risk. So why should they, right? Did it load it funky? I really dislike transport systems. Don't we have 2 empty destroyers in there? Transports in there? You and you. So, one of the tricky parts here that we're facing is the fact that they can do the 1, 2, 3. 1, hit tank and a couple of fighters from here, could hit in here. 2, blitz the Russian tank with a couple of fighters to take the coastal territory. And then 3, send the UK air and landing in here to wipe out my transport system. I got just the bomber covered, I believe, with the destroyer carrier fighter I'm putting there. The other part, and this is actually, I want to kind of chat with Terrence and see what his thought is. I almost could stack both of these, but potentially stacking here makes them have to think about what they're leaving in here while also protecting Russia. I mean, Russia should be able to pull in enough to protect itself, but once Germany steps in here, then UK's got to decide what is it going to do. The problem with up here, they moved their UK tanks in here so that they can 1, Russia hit here, and then 2, blitz the UK tanks on through, which if I'm sitting here, I wouldn't be able to attack them. So I'll have to move these guys up, which I'm ready to do. But I almost kind of wonder, would it be nice to double stack? I don't think we need to. We're just going to go with my original play. Leave 1 guy back there so he can't blitz the Russian tank, and then 2 tanks. They could pick him off with the US air, I guess. They could do something like that. Wait, how come there's only 2 guys here? Where's the other transport? Yo, transport. You too. There we go. So we got 4 US and a fighter there. 5 infantry up here, hopefully to discourage them taking a 2-shot, 3-shot Hail Mary, for the win. If it was only 4 infantry, it actually wasn't really bad odds for them, so that's what kind of concerned me and why I needed to go ahead and do something a little bit more. I do want to keep my bomber in range of this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could do that from Berlin at least. Yeah, I think that's the route we're going. Oh, I do want to check. I'll go ahead and make this fighter before carrier. Just in case they make an attempt down here. I did bring a Plex down here. I couldn't quite build 8. I was 1 unit short, so I built 2 artilleries instead. And there we go. Ugh, so I keep getting too deep into my thought on this game. This game got me really thinking hard and trying to find ways to call back into it. And I forgot to record. So I already did my purchase and combat move, but I'm going to go ahead and rewind a little bit here, give you a little bit of a playback. So in US's turn, they had taken basically, everything along here. They didn't have South. We had stacked taken that one, but they had taken Italy. They had taken all of these guys. UK had left over here, but they had here, and they had this big stack in Finland, which you can see is no longer there, which I'm going to get to that. But US, they just had a huge trade everywhere. Let's see, UK was in Bilo even, I think, or somebody was in Bilo. I forget who it was now off the top of my head, but we had to attack Bilo as well. It was US because the previous turn we had failed Ukraine, so they'd taken that with the US. So this was just a lot of green and brown here after their turn. Meanwhile, the Allies continue to sack Kaza and Moscow. And then, so Germany's turn, we had a shot, and I'm going to pull back up that round here in just a second. We had a pretty heavy stack sitting here of UK units, and we were, if you remember, we were down in West Russia with our tanks, and we had a mini stack on Karelia, so went in with 8 infantry, 7 artillery, 9 tanks. They had an AA in there, so it was important that we didn't have to use our air to go in there, because besides, you need to use our air everywhere else to trade. So we also went after Caucasus with 1 infantry, 1 fighter. We moved back into Italy, and Ukraine, 1 infantry, 1 artillery, 1 fighter. Bulgaria, 1 infantry, 1 artillery, 1 fighter. And France, 2 infantry, 2 artillery, a fighter. Belarusia, we went into there. Baltic, we went into there. Northwest Europe, we went into there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 attacks that Germany did this turn. That's a lot of attacking. The good news is Northwest Europe was undefended, so that was a freebie. Caucasus took it, didn't lose anybody. Finland, we destroyed 11 infantry and AA, 2 tanks, 2 artilleries compared to 8 infantry loss. So that's a bonus of 3 infantry, 2 tanks, 2 artillery, and AA. So that's what, like 8 units right there that we killed. 16 units for the cost of 8. And in doing so, we still had enough that we were left where Finland was stacked, so he couldn't counter it, and we were able to pull back and stack Karelia, so they couldn't counter that either. So we were able to double stack and not lose anything in retribution, but we did give up West Russia. And then you'll see going on through it, Italy, 1 with no units lost. Ukraine 1, no units lost. Bulgaria 1 unit lost. And France, we won and only 1 unit lost. So it was a very good round. Belarusia, just 1 infantry loss, no losses in Baltic, or excuse me, the defender had no losses. That was our one failure, is we did not take the Baltic states. But all in all, it was pretty successful. That was a very successful, I want to say pretty successful, very successful trade round for Germany, which was nice. And UK now has no real troops, ground troops in the area, so the US has their troops down here. They got a lot of transports they can suddenly move into Europe, so we got to be careful about that. But they're also trickling on into Kaza this entire time as well. UK then took their turn, 9 infantry, artillery, and a fighter bot. They tried to trade as much as they could. Burma, Szechuan, Novo, West Russia, which you can see they took West Russia. They went and countered Belarus, that's a key battle. I'll talk about that in just a second here. Northwestern Europe, France, and when you look at this, you can see Northwestern Europe still living, Belarus still living. They did take West Russia though. They also, when you look at the Japan ones, they did take Burma because we had nobody in there, so that was a freebie. They did not take Szechuan. They killed the infantry but did not take it. Novo, they failed to kill the infantry. They had to just retreat out of that. Belarusia, they killed an infantry and artillery, but they lost their 1 infantry and a fighter in doing so. So they're trying to, they had that infantry left over, unfortunately, here. And so they were going for a kill here. And the reason being is a clear Belarusia, which they may still use their Russians to clear, I don't know, means U.S. could come in, take Ukraine and Caucasus, and neither of those would be tradable because we have no German units in range then. So that's why they're looking to take Belarusia. They're going to get these and not be able to trade them back, which is going to hurt Germany. The discussion that Terrence and I had, I'm not sure how everybody else feels, but we definitely feel behind in this. So we need to start doing something to catch up. And so that's either going to be look for a sneaky win or look for ways where we can tempt them to take battles that are slightly in their favor, but then we win type of thing, kind of relying on dice a little bit there. So we're looking at different ideas about that, but Finland was a freebie that we just had to take that. It may cost us strategically here. But this is what we're looking at. We're actually looking at the J11 Victory City possibility. And the reason being that I'm looking at is U.S. troops are sitting here. They're trying to get into Kaza. I'm getting close to matching them in units, so I need to keep pressing up this way. But US 9, these guys go in, they come here. US 10, these guys go in. Egypt's empty, so there'd be nobody in Persia, US 10, if they just keep funneling everybody in to these two territories, which is key because if Japan gets a shot to take India on J11, then US would not be able to counter except for with a tank they have up here. That's a lot of ifs. That's also if the U.S. fleet doesn't come back out here again, so we got to be mindful of that. And if Japan can take Pearl Harbor on J11. So you can see turn 9, we brought our transport back. Turn 10, we can come here. Turn 11, we can come here. But now the U.S. built another sub, so there's another sub in the water, and they've got these bombers floating around here, so it could get hairy. Now we just need to take it and not lose it on J11 and then woohoo, but it could get hairy. The harder part is disguising it with Germany, right? So the good news is by moving the stack around, potentially, I'm not sure this is what we're going to do yet or not, but one of the talks is we can just continue this stack, shift it right into France, and bring in some units into France to stack France, let Italy trade again, and then try to, with what we build and bringing these tanks back around to here, so that then on G10, so that then G11 they could go into one of these if need be, to set up around 11. The problem that I'm foreseeing, and we're going to find out right after I finish my turn, is Russia. The fact that UK tried to take Bello, they're going to take all of this. I foresee Russia moving their stack to West Russia, and that's going to cause issues for keeping Karelia over here. So we're going to have some difficulties if they move over, and I'm afraid they're going to, and I'm not sure what we're going to do from that point other than continue to find battles where we can chip away. So I think that's where we're going to be stuck doing. I'm not sure about that VC11 play is going to be in there. So for Japan, by the way, our turn, I bought 10 infantry, 3 artilleries, fill up these units. There wasn't much to combat. I talked to Burma for my Madagascar unit, and I simply moved a guy into Vologda. I'm leaving enough. I made a goof. I used the wrong fighter to attack Burma. I meant for this fighter to fly in here and use the fighter that was down here to attack Burma, or excuse me, the fighter that was in here to hit Burma, so that I could then have another fighter up into the thing. So we'd have 2 fighters here that could potentially reach Karelia with this fighter. I goofed. So I had to land my fighter here because I need a fighter still in the C zone because of that stinking bomber still floating around, and to help keep the US sub a little bit away. All right. I am moving a couple infantry up here to be able to trade with, and we're leaving enough here. I'm moving my tanks back here so that I only had to move 2 infantry into this spot for trading Burma. And then, if they can't do the 1, 2, 3, I've got 9 units in here, so they can't do the 1, 2, 3, and we're slowly cycling the units this direction around the spot. I like the tanks back here because they can just blitz right back when I need them to. So there we go. Also, the tanks is setting up the potential of the J11 if they just trade Burma, that we can take Burma, transport over to take India, and then non-combat move tanks over to help hold India if we need to. So that's the rundown. I feel like I'm missing something. There's so many things going on here. Yeah, we're going with it. We're going to say that's it. And there we go. Okay, so Japan 10 here. Desperation is really setting in. U.S. went and bought a carrier, destroyer, transport. So, I mean, they're already producing a counter to Pearl Harbor. UK went ahead and flew their fighters down to India. The U.S. is sitting here stacked. Russia pushed into West Russia here. So this is our one opportunity, and this is kind of what was kind of hoping that they would push out that way. It gives us our best shot at trying to break the Kazakh stack, um, because those guys can't get over there, and or, well, not and or, but or, ideally if they give a window to try to take India and Hawaii, to try to take them and hold them. Um, the odds are looking really rough. The only good thing about putting pressure on the Kazakh stack is it's going to be hard for them to put enough in India, Persia, Kazakh, and West Russia with Germany sitting here. So maybe it makes them pull out of here and Germany gets to kill those couple tanks for free. I don't know. Uh, we really don't even have enough to get great odds on here. I did decide to go ahead and buy a bomber and 2 tanks. So the 2 tanks are going in here. A bomber in Tokyo adds a little bit more pressure onto there. Um, it's not good odds. I'll be honest. They've got these 7 fighters. They've got these 5 fighters. They've got these 4 fighters. On top of all of that, when we move out here, he can move that carrier cruiser down into C zone 34, pulling that stunt they did before. Plus, that gives them more units that can hit Indy on a return. Plus, this transport can come over here, sit right here, and then it can be threatening DEI next turn. And there ain't a darn thing that we can do about it. So yeah, the only thing that we did talk about is, depending on everything else that happens, we can always sacrifice a transport, land 3 fighters in here, and then that could potentially protect DEI. But not a whole lot. So I'm checking out what Terrence just sent me a message, so I'm checking it out real quick. He just had some tips for how we could help manage the Europe part of it, including the potentiality that there's 2 transports up here lightly defended. He's got his two fighters, and he can also do the whole fighter carrier build possibly, or something, if we go for the whole VC in round 11. So anyways, all of that said, this is, our odds are less than 1% in this game, I'd say, and the odds of us pulling anything off here is about that much, because they read it, they've prepared to protect India and Pearl. So, and of course, the West Russia Kazakh double stack is just devastating. So, all right. So yeah, we're moving in here. Go ahead and hitting Burma with two fighters, 2 infantry. Trade this guy real quick. I'm gonna lend my first bomber in Buryatia, where it can hit here. It can also go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to help dead zone the C zone 53 from what he can put into 53. I'm also gonna have my carrier battleship destroyer, and I'm gonna have a fighter on the carrier. I'm gonna have 2 fighters here. One of those can also hit the 53 battle, while the 1 fighter on board with the carrier can hit the island. So I think we can take Pearl. Whether we can hold it, they can build, US 10. They can buy a build that can take it back, but that hopefully that'll take pressure off Germany. So lot of things that to fall into line, and they're not going to make a mistake. They're not going to let it go. So very low odds on anything at this point. But we're not going to let the game go on forever, and we're also not going to at least just take a swing. Yay. Yay. So I do have it set up so that's fighter before carrier, just because they do have U.S. bomber and actually I don't know that the U.S. bomber can reach us now. They can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so actually we're safe from the U.S. bomber, but um, anyways. There we go. Oh, I forgot to stop the recording there. All right. So yeah, so U.S. isn't going to give us anything in this game. They built more here. They flew in some bombers, another fighter, another sub. So the good news is they're investing money over here that isn't going towards Germany. The bad news is, I mean, even if I took Hawaii, they've got a guaranteed take back. So um, in addition, they did exactly as I thought. They popped their fleet back out into 34 here. Um, what surprised me a little bit, oh, Germany, we decided we're just going all sorts of crazy. Got a 3 stack here in the core and then sent a stack off into Arch. Um, hopefully just trying to draw some things out, create some battles, whatnot. Um, the interesting part is Kaza. They gave me a better shot at Kaza than I was expecting. So this is Here we go. I'm going to pull it on over here, bring the calculator over. Oop, that's not the calculator. Where's the calculator? There's the calculator. So this is the battle they're giving us in Kaza right now. It would be nice if I still had my other fighter, but it got killed in Karelia because we had to abandon Karelia with the VC hopes out the window. So now we're just trying to create some profitable anywhere. So a 30% chance of winning is better than anything we expected. I mean, I put our chances in this game at less than 5%, maybe less than 1%, to be frankly honest at this point. This game is not in our favor. So this is a much better opportunity than we expected, even though it's, we're looking at big time negative if dice go normal. I mean, this battle's all about dice going well so that, we can get a top 20%, top 15%, top 10% result. I mean, top 10% results happen 1 in every 10 times, right? What would top, a 10%, well, that's not even showing on here. 10% would be us winning and still having stuff to live. So we'll just call it that. And that's just happy if that happens. So we're also going to prep for retaking DEI because, again, he's going to have 2 transports now that can hit DEI. We're making an assumption here. We're going after Kaza. We're making an assumption that we're going to dig to the bombers. If we don't get down to the bombers, I mean, it's a good game anyway, so what's it matter? So we're going to assume the bombers aren't going to be able to reach C-Zone 61. And so here we go. So, yeah, we bought a cruiser. I never, ever, everybody on that follows me knows how much I loathe cruisers. But we needed something for defense in C-Zone 61 because he does still have this U.S. fighter that could do a suicide run there, even if we take out the bombers. And a destroyer felt a little too risky, and a cruiser let me buy 10 ground still. So that's where we stand. Oh, my computer's going to be extra laggy. Let's get our bombers in there. Let's get our fighters in there. That's what I get for having a video uploading to YouTube at the same time as trying to record. So that's why this is going to be a little extra laggy here. Let's see, I should have 63 units going. I've got 63 units going. Let's see, we should have 18 hits. He should have 22 hits. So if we can beat 18 and 22, we're doing well. All right, let's see what else we're going to do here. We're going to bring one of these guys so we can use the battleship. All right. So this is for all the marbles here. Terrence just reminded me not to forget to hit Berman, all the excitement, which I did just do. So we're good there. Nobody else we can take into this. Heck, we could just go after India too. No, I'm kidding. I wonder how he would react if I just started loading up, and since he's watching, right? Yeah. So we could do. Just want to see what kind of reaction I get out of him. Alright, just kidding. Not really going to do that. Oh no, how do I unload my boats? Alright. I know, I'm sitting having a Discord chat, and y'all can't see me laughing over here with Terrence. So here we go. Alright. Off we go. Implausible. Implausible is my middle name. Let's go for it. Was it 18 and 22? That's what we're looking for. We gotta knock this battle out of the way real quick. So maybe if we flip that around, I get 22, he gets 18. Then maybe we'll be in that battle. There we go. Very good. Is Amund watching? Oh, nope, Amund's not watching. Big whiff, big whiff, big whiff. Oh yeah! Big whiff. All right, here we go. So let's get 20 plus hits. 8, 16, 23. Whoa, what? Whoa, 25 hits. Okay. Let's get under 20 hits. Under 20 hits. Under 20 hits back. Hey. Okay, it was looking pretty good there. All right. So what's that take us? I gotta be curious what that gets us down to. So we got 18 now, infantry. They have no AA left, and they have 15 infantry. What's that get our odds to? That puts our odds. This is why we take the risk. Look at this. We're up to 80% at a plus 43 now. Oh, that's low. That's low. Okay, but they had less. Alright, alright, alright. We're gonna rechecking the odds here. We're down to 5. We got 9 infantry, they got 5. We're now at a 91% chance of taking here. Press on. Alright, 12 hits is good. I like the 12. 12 looks like a good number on this mount. Oh my goodness! Alright, alright, alright! There go the bombers. Alright, bombers gone. Oof. 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 Okay, he's got some good hits back that time. Alright, roll tanks. There they go. Alright. It's a win. It's a win. Come on. Oh, he had to take some shots back at me on the way out the door though. Let's see what they got on the map here. He's got 11 coming back at me. Alright, I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to think a little bit on this. Because it could be that I want some more ground in order to hold the territory to a counter. So I'm going to look at if I should sacrifice some planes and keep the ground in the place. So we're going to hold here for a second. So our decision is go ahead, take the tanks out, create some variants. Maybe we can get in a second attack counterplay here. So what is that, 78 IPC swing, so that's good. That's good. That's good. So we're going to move the AA in there. I also want to move AA to last. Man, I don't even know if we got one that has... Does this take AA after tanks? No, that takes AA before tanks. I don't think I have one where I have AA last. Oh wait, what about the save AA? What's this one look like? No, that's just AA after the infantry. So I'm going to have to go make a defense profile here. And it's one I don't use very much. Here we go. Hopefully that works for getting it out this time. So we're going to make it G sub special. I'm a little lost because I wasn't really expecting to win that, so sure G sub special's in there. Let's take a look. AA is after tank, okay. So now oh, come on. Come on, computer. Catch up with me. Oh shoot, I need to check my air profile too. Two, three. They should all be safe there. just slide those two up there, so nothing can reach them now. We're just going to have two transports at risk to the sacrificial fighter there. All right. So I'm going to build my units. I'm going to put the cruiser in here and put the rest of my infantry in there. I'm just going to double check things are finalized, but I'm not going to keep y'all hanging out on the video while I just double check things out. All right, so here we are coming up on round 12 for Japan. Peeking into the previous part of the round, the big thing and what our plans are is remember Germany had the arch stack here, so we took enough to go back into Karelia and sent the tanks, and even non-combat moved one to the Baltics and then moved them up to make the Baltics secure from a UK attack on there. And so now we're trying to get units up here and hopefully be able to get enough next turn to move up into the Baltics to dead zone Karelia when we try to move these tanks back to Evinkai. These 16 guys down here to sink, and we're going to stack sink this turn with Japan. And so hopefully with 16 units of German plus tanks back from German that can go 1, 2, and whatever we can muster up of Japan, maybe we can break Kaza and not let them continue. The only difficulty, it's going to depend what Russia does with these guys, right? So because when we split this, there's no pressure on Moscow now. So either he can choose to stack West Russia, or they can move the units back here, one or both, maybe even both. So step 2, if we get there and here with the German units and Japan into here, then the next step is to move into a 1-2 stack on Novo, which then will make them have to, hopefully, I haven't done all the math, but hopefully make them have to choose between these two and pull back to Moscow, and then let us start to work into Kaza finally. So that's our plan. We're trying to use the strength of the fact that Germany is still very strong. I mean, they still got a lot of units out here. They're still able to stack, very able to stack Karelia, Berlin, France, Italy. So that's pretty impressive, as well as Baltic. So UK really didn't have a lot of trades. They had to just come on up here to Finland and start dropping units. So we're using the strength of Germany. We're going to split some off to come help let Big Brother come help Little Brother. The other interesting situation here is what the Americans are doing fleet-wise, right? So they've got a transport that can reach DEI. They got a transport that can reach Philippines or Borneo right now, or they could do both. So we're at a tough situation here. I could continue to sit in 36, but if they hit both of those, then we got to use 2 sets of transports to come fix them, if you will. Meanwhile, he's got 2 subs that can reach 61 plus 2 fighters that can reach 61. And I can't keep my transports naked in 62 with the subs there, so we're going to have all 4 transports sitting down here. So that leads to, we got to protect 61 from 2 subs, 2 fighters. So you're going to see my decision here is we're going to move a fleet into the DEI to try to stack the DEI C zone. We're going to put enough in 61 to hold 61, but by moving a stack to DEI C zone, we're hoping to dead zone all of these, as well as across here, of course, so that the stack either has to come into 33 or back up out of South Africa. Either way, taking the transport away from being able to reach DEI, and then that leaves us this group, right? So this group, the transport, could land in one of these, but if we push them back, then this fleet can come back over and retake whatever they sacrifice their transport for. And then, of course, then they come back. Whoops, sorry. Then they come back, then we come back. So hopefully we're going to be one step ahead of the U.S. Navy, but the U.S. Navy's got a lot of options, and the one thing we're not talking about is the fact that the UK could jump in here in the middle of all this at some point by dropping some fleet or something here in 35. So that's the other, wild card is UK still has a lot of options where they could make this a headache. Because the other thing to take note is why did this UK destroyer and cruiser come over here? You know, that they don't need protection. There are no bombers here. The fighters on France can't reach there. Why send the four down there? They've got plenty of protection up here, right? Because again, the best we could do is four. So I mean, they got their four there. We could do a potentially, a two carrier by 1, 2, 3, 4 type of thing, and go for a four fighter shot on them and try and sink them or something, I guess. But not likely. That's just too risky of a play, I think. If we were in a more desperate situation, maybe, but I don't think that's where we're at right now. But again, why bring the destroyer or cruiser here? Because they could be they could come back and stack C Zone 8 with a build and all sorts of stuff. The only reason they come this way is so that they can come this way and, sometime over here help add to the headache of Japan, or they can come this way, and they can help add to the headache of Japan. So I got a feeling in a few turns it's going to heat up on the Japan Navy. So I need to try to keep these Americans apart from each other as much as possible. The other thing that I'm looking at is the fact that we got 2 Japan bombers, 3 J fighters, which we're going to have out on the waters now. So that's 5 planes that positioned well can reach this zone. And they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 surface ships and planes. So potentially we could send them and wipe out this transport. So potentially we are going to push this transport and destroyer carrier transport back as well. If they choose to come down here to take C Zone 45, again, we're going to be sitting in 37. So either he has to use a destroyer to block, which then leaves only 3, and again, we've got enough planes to wipe them out, as well as we'll have a bomber, and we're going to have an infantry here that we could take Australia back. So we're going to protect this as much as we can. Meanwhile, we're going to try to put as much pressure on Kaza for the G13, J13, G14, because G has to move in. So all that said and done, we're going to build 8 infantry and artillery, a tank, and we have to build a destroyer so that we have another destroyer here to help protect with the 2 subs and fighters coming this way. Let's see. One, two, three. He can get back there. 1. These guys can go 1, 2, 3, 4, which is where they're going to be wanted. So just want to make sure that we don't accidentally not kill this guy on one shot, and hopefully they'd miss the roll. So this will leave us 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 versus a 6, 2, 2, so we'll be okay going into there. I believe that is all of our moves. Yay, nice. Nice. The reason I say that's nice is that, one, it's income, and two, it lets me place my bombers a little bit more friendly. So we're going to bring him here. We're going to bring the cruiser on down here while we bring the carrier, destroyer back here. One of those guys is going there. Two of them are going back there. Two bombers we can place in tiling because now the tank can't blitz. They don't have any bombers. Fighters can't go 1, 2, 3 and hit there. Fighters over here can't go 1, 2, 3, 4. So they've got nothing that can reach them, but by being there, if they do sacrifice their transport, then the bombers can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and hit either Philippines or Borneo to trade back if they were to sacrifice. Plus it puts them between the two fleets so they can help create that space, and they can still reach targets up here. So we're moving everything we can into here. Now, it's 2, right? Yep. I do want to continue to have 2 here for potential trading. But here's the other part. These 4 units, I'm going to move them into the dead zone. Right? Because 4 units, he's got 6, 2, 2 that he can do here. He could easily take them. The only good news is I can take them back, with the next hit back. But it's also a weird strafe, especially if they want to use one fighter for taking this guy back. So we're going to see how they play it. Remember, Russia taking this doesn't get the U.S. points because that's a U.S. territory, so they don't get the IPC for it. It's just a matter of killing units for them, and that's all they get out of it. They don't get any IPC for it, so it may not be worth it for them. Hopefully it won't be, because I'm putting my tank here, and that'll give me a beeline, plus give me maximum units that can threaten Kaza on the next turn. So hopefully trying to break this Kaza hold that they have on us. One thing I do want to double check is we need to check our defense profiles. We do not want to be on the G sub special anymore. Actually, you know what? We do need to make a special profile. And it's always tricky, right? When you want to make a special profile, I haven't figured it out completely. When you make a special profile, what exactly it's going to do. What's one I don't use very often? Because it seems like when I change it at the time, if you change it in the game, it doesn't apply. But if you change it in the main menu, that maybe it applies. Let's take River Special. I don't even remember what I used for that one. I think I was playing River Ron, but I don't remember what I did in it. The key part. Oh, wow. Okay. Let's make it what we'd want it to be. Infantry, tank. I don't know what was happening in that game that I had it that way. It's been a while. But that's good enough for the defensive part. The big part here is this part that I do want to keep the destroy present. That's what I wanted to get to. I don't normally have that selected. I don't believe in my normal one. So other part is I do want to go ahead and have the carrier go before fighter. Destroyers first, then carriers, then fighters, destroyers last to protect the transports if they were to hit them. Let's see, cruiser should go after carrier as well for the sake of that DEIC zone. It's a tight, that DEIC zone battle is a tight one, so. Okay, so we're going to use River Special. Hopefully that takes place like it's supposed to. I always worry. I just never quite figure out how the defense profile and the switching and changing them happens ever since they made the update a few years ago. In the beginning, you know, you changed it right away. Where is it at? River Special. River Special. There we go. So we're moving those 4 in. Got all our guys moving. 4, 11. And here we should have destroyer carrier. We're dropping a destroyer, 2 fighters. Looks good. Here should be a carrier battleship cruiser. Whoops. Yeah, carrier battleship cruiser and a fighter. And then transport. Transport next time. Hopefully we'll be able to grab our artillery and do something with him. We'll see. Depends what they allow us. Alright. I think that's it. Oh, I'm just double checking. I don't want to let my duo's partner down by something stupid. Because unfortunately I just feel like I can do stupid things easily enough. Alright, nope, I think we're good. We're just going to go. Okay, so destroyer needs to go in here. Tank is going to go in there. Unfortunately, we're 2 units short because we had to build that destroyer, but, you know, it is what it is. The destroyer had to be built. Alright, there we go. Alright, so to catch you guys up, after Japan's last turn, US, they bought a carrier and destroyer that they put in the East USA. Interesting enough, they do still have the carrier sitting down here, but they took an interesting shot at trying to take both sides of Australia at once. They had good odds, and it would have been quite painful had they succeeded, where they had 2 infantry and a cruiser against my 1 artillery. Thankfully, cruisers are useless, and so the cruiser missed, and then the 2 infantry both missed, and the artillery won it all and still survived, which was a big deal because if they had taken that, then we couldn't use their bomber to attack the infantry. We would have just had 1 infantry versus 1 unit on either side. Plus, they would have had their fighters, so it would have gotten really ugly down here had we lost that. And although it seems like a small deal, it's just a 1 bit, it would have taken multiple turns so I could come back down here. They'd be able to reinforce, grab Hawaii, you know, all sorts of things that they could have done. And so it seems like a little thing, but that actually was a pretty big deal. And we got very favorable dice in that regards. So we'll thank our lucky stars on that particular one. Meanwhile, I'm not sure what the plan is with their carrier. I mean, they sent the carrier that way, cruiser this way, and built another carrier up here. To have 3 U.S. carriers and a U.K. carrier is a lot, considering there's only 5 German fighters over there. So I got a feeling we haven't seen the last of the U.S. fleets, unfortunately. Meanwhile, the destroyer for U.K. came on down here as well, so we could be looking at some sort of destroyer block and then them coming in, and they've got all these transports that can come over. So I'm not really sure what all the plan is yet. Thankfully, we got a turn or 2 to recover for that. And we're going to try and push, use this turn to go ahead and kill this cruiser and transport and try and push this part of the Navy out. So my goal is to end the turn with enough air so that I'll have 4 fighters and 2 bombers, maybe only 1 bomber if they kill the 1 or I have to sacrifice it here, but still 5 units, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4 surface ships. So I'm hoping to make them have to pack all the way back to 43 or 41 on this next turn, or, you know, risk just the air killing them. So meanwhile, in the center of the board here, because we had taken Germany to Karelia and Avinkai, they were able to then stretch out their Russians. So we changed our plan a little bit because we were hoping, if you remember, we had our German ground in here. We were hoping to bring them into Novo or here and then bring the tanks on in. But we really needed Karelia to be dead zoned, and we didn't quite have enough to feel comfortable with a dead zone on Karelia because it doesn't help us to get Japan next to Moscow and start to get the Kaza cut off if we just open Karelia up and they just pour units into Karelia. So we're taking a momentary step back. Our plan is bring Japan units up, and then these guys will be able to move over one, Japan reinforce as needed, and then into here, into Novo, and then we'll have to kind of pool up and on way. I never know if I say that correctly. For a little bit, and then move it over. So that's our plan at least. This also buys. We looked at possibly taking them in and stacking Novo very weakly this turn, but I needed to actually send my fighter in there, and I really need my fighters going this way. So it just didn't work out real well to be able to get all the plays that we needed for there. Plus, if we went there, I wouldn't have any reinforcements, and when they came back, brought these guys back and built, I wouldn't have any reinforcements, and we've been pushed right out of Novo, back out of Novo anyways. I still don't even know if I'm going to be able to get my reinforcements to meet the stack up here, but at least we'll have this chunk going up there as well to meet them. Meanwhile, we did bring people back to Berlin and pushed into Baltics, moved our planes to there so that they can reach Moscow in addition to all of this, so that they have to come back into Moscow at least. And by keeping this set of units along the border of Moscow, hopefully that'll help us. And meanwhile, by being here, we are still able to dead zone Karelia. So that's our plan. My purchase here was 9 infantry and artillery and a fighter. Reason being, that gives me that 4th fighter that can reach out here and be able to dead zone these guys with a bomber in addition. I'm hoping we can take Burma. If we can take Burma, then the U.S. bombers 1, 2, 3, 4 can't hit me, right? Because they go next. So these subs can't reach. The fighters here can't reach. So we actually have a free turn to have naked transports. Being mindful of the fact that they can still do a US 1, Russia 2, fighter goes 3, 4. So we got to make sure we protect the coast. We can't let Russia take the coast in this turn, which we're going to try to prevent that. And otherwise moving everything forward. Because if we take this and we can have that free, then I can push my destroyers and carrier, and with my extra transport, since I only need 3, grab a guy and push these subs back again. So that's the plan. That's the hope. We'll see how it goes. At the end of the day, the dice determine what we get to do. All 3 of these battles, well, the 2 battles are really big. The third one's, they're all big. Every unit is big for Japan right now. Alright, we got them both. Good. Good. Alright. I forgot to send my fighters, but hopefully we can get that hit. Okay. Started to make me worry. Alright, this is big. Alright, good. Unfortunately, I gotta take the bomber. in order to preserve Australia. Because although I could choose to not take the bomber and bring my 1 infantry here, they have the 2 fighters that they could hit the infantry and the bomber here. And if all they have to do is hit the infantry, the 1, then I'm not going to be able to ever take the other half of Australia, and over time that's just going to be adding up as well. Man, I was really hoping to avoid that. Yeah, man. I was just trying to think, if we didn't sacrifice the bomber, then we have the infantry bomber sitting here, which is like a 75% chance the 2 fighters can wipe him out, right? But if they use the fighters to wipe him out, that they run a decent risk that they'd lose one of those fighters and really make them weak. But again, they can just bail out this way. And if they kill the infantry, I've got no more infantry in here. It's going to be, at least 1, 2, 3, 4 turns till I get back over here again. And with what they've been doing with all the fleet and being a headache over here, I'm sure they would just amp it up and make it that much harder. So, and unfortunately, 6 turns, they're getting 1, taking a 1 away from me. 6 turns pays off the bomber, and I don't foresee me getting back here, getting it under 6 turns. So I think I have to sacrifice the bomber to go ahead and take the territory, which I really hate to do because that bomber was helping me dead zone, the seas out here. Just get the hit. There we go. So just to talk it out, I won't show all the calculators, but I did put cruiser, fighter, carrier, loss order. That actually gives me the best odds. Well, actually, now I think it out, may actually better carrier, fighter, cruiser. I'm going to double check that. I just know we need to get the fighters earlier and not just have cruiser carrier because then the subs sneak through and stay alive. So I'm either going to do carrier, fighters, cruiser, or cruiser, fighter, carriers. Currently, I have it set up cruiser, fighters, carrier. I think I'm going to leave it cruisers, fighters, carrier because if there's that chance the carrier lives with this other carrier sitting over here, I think I need it. So we're going to make it cruiser, fighter, carriers. So that gives us 2 infantry, fighter, and a bomber. US has to take care of these guys, which they can with the fighters and them. They could take the bombers to hit here, and then the Russia could send fighter tank, and they have to take it. It's like an 18% chance, but they'd have to sacrifice out their bombers as well as sacrifice out that. So I don't think they take it. I potentially could be wrong, I guess, but save the artillery. I want to get the tank up here so that we can, at the very least, non-combat him on through here if we need to. Although, we had the tank down here too. And then we're going to drop. And we're going to drop a fighter. And so let's just think this through for a second. So my most important thing is I do want this tank to be up here when we get to the Novo bit, which Germany, they're going to do G14, G15, so J15 I need to be there. So if I'm here 13, then I need to be here or here on 14, which we can do either of those. So I think we're going to put them down here just for that extra protection, because I really don't want to get 1, 2, 3'd even with an 18% chance, because we're also giving them an 18% chance on my 2 destroyers and carrier over here, which is probably not the greatest, but I need to at least start picking these guys off the islands and using them. And by having them up here, that's what gets me the 2 fighters that can reach, that are going to be on the coast here, can go 1, 2, 3, 4 because of my carrier. And then these 2 fighters can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then my bomber can hit in there too. So see how it holds up. Maybe smart, maybe it wasn't smart. I don't know. Alright, looking once, looking twice. So again, all in all, this game is, we still got to climb out of this hole, and so we're using Germany's strength to help us out. So we got some scary Americans getting ready to come in. Oh, I don't want to make a mistake. I want the fighter here because I want him on the coast to be able to reach 44. Guess he could reach from up here. One, two, three, four. But from here, I can reach the log if I need to. Next turn for the stack there. So besides, that's me putting 6 in here, which is fine. So I got my 3 that can continue to pick him up. All right, that's it. So there's a lot to figure out here and kind of work your way through in this picture here. Again, I'll be honest, we're behind. Axis are behind. So what are we spending? We are spending 41. US is going to get to spend 16 more. So they're going to get about 5 more bonus on the power, and they already got like a 28, and they're winning the income war. So we're behind, but positionally we're getting closer to being positioned better. We've got a stack of Germans here, a stack of Germans here, coming up on Moscow. They moved Russia into Sichuan in a stack, which looks ugly and looks bad, but I'm not sure it's going to be that big of a deal, because we're going to be moving our stack into here, so we're going to have our Germans and Japan close to each other, and they're going to be separated out. Now, presumably, they're probably going to come back out of there this turn, but I don't know. Yeah, they've been surprising us. So hopefully between after this turn, our what is this, like 20 units or so that would be here, and Germany's units that are sitting here will be close enough to make an attack where, although they're eating away income by trading, so they did a lot of trades, and we're having to give up Italy this turn because we had to shift up here to dead zone Karelia. It's all give and take, right? So they are whittling away the German units, but still, Germany still has, 40, 50 ground units here immediately in the land, and the closest they got is the 20 up here, and then the 4 or 5 around. So I'm not going to paint a good picture on this. It's still a rough picture, but we got hopes. So the complexity of this is where turn order is going to start to get to be a bit of a nuance here, right? So I'm going to stack in here, plus I'm going to have units here, here, and here, all surrounding Sichuan. So they're not really going to be able to stay there unless they reinforce it, which they've got tons of fighters everywhere that can fly in and help reinforce. But I just, it would be tough if Russia stays here, because when Germany moves here, then the German-Japan punch, they're gone. I mean, they're cut off at that point, because most of this units is going to have to stay here, other than the fighters. Like, everything but the fighters has to stay here to hold this just to stack against the Germany just sitting there now. So they can't really send much else out here. They got this little bit of chunk of ground that'll be coming in, and the air can move there, but they're going to need to be pulling out, or else the Japan stack will start in Kaza by itself. And then the fact that if they let the Germans move to here and they don't pull back, then they're going to get stuck out here between the Germans and Japan. They won't be able to get back. I don't think. I should say. I should quantify that. I don't think they'll be able to get back. So they're going to have this for one round. If they do stay, then they need the UK to stay. And if we get the Germans here and Japan here, and then they try to pull out the next time and they stay there, that'll leave UK sitting there where the Germans could tank blitz and wipe them out possibly, or something along those lines. So it's going to get very complex, the center of the board here, because of that. Meanwhile, the interesting thing is they put a bomber fighter up here. They got a fighter here with their grouping. What this means is, like, C zone 45, which would be nice. This fighter could go 1, 2, 3, 4 land. This fighter could get there. This fighter could get there. The bomber can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and land. So they've got 3 fighters, the bomber, the carrier, destroyer, sub, and these subs that all can hit 45. Likewise, all of that, other than this one sub, can hit 40. And I've only got my little 5 stack, right? And so they're talking about a 4, 5, 6, 7 stack. So really, they have dead zoned everything along here from me this turn. I did push him back to 43, which is nice, so that he can't grab them and get to Australia at the same time. He wasn't able to go directly back to Hawaii this turn, so that was nice. But there's this going on, and who knows, with 3 fighters in the area, they could. Oh yeah, they got a sub up here too, by the way. They could put another carrier down potentially. So lots of things they can do here, and of course, you still always got these guys that can come out. The UK destroyers coming around here, where it can join in as a blocker and do some headaches and whatnot. And then, of course, they've got these subs that are currently immediately threatening 61. Bombers are out of play this turn for 61, but with all of this, they do have the 5 UK fighters that can go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got to protect against 2 subs and then 5 UK fighters. So we are going to buy a destroyer. We're going to bring all of this back. So we'll have 3 destroyers, a carrier, and 2 fighters in 61. The subs attack and kill one of them, um, one of the destroyers, then that makes it like a 45% chance the 5 destroyers in could take it out. We just got to take that risk. Because 2 subs attacking, there's a decent chance they could take one out. So it is what it is. We got to take the risks that we got to take. Meanwhile, I could have built 11 infantry, or I can do 9 infantry and a tank. I'm choosing 9 infantry and a tank because destroyers are going to take one of these spots, so we'll have 4 land builds. That'll leave 6, so it's exactly 3 transports. So I'll have a free transport that can do whatever, possibly. Such as a sacrifice, which we talked a little bit about this turn, because even here you can see we talked about, well, what about they had a failure on Burma, so we got an infantry, a tank, we've got an extra transport. What if we sacrifice the transport to take 3 infantry and a tank into here and try and take India for a turn? I mean, obviously they'll take it back, so it'd be a gain of 3 IPC, plus they wouldn't be able to attack Burma for a turn, so that'd be 4. A +4 for the cost of a transport that's not getting used, and then the 3 infantry and a tank, although that limits my shucking by 1 infantry coming from Tokyo. It's not a guaranteed to start with, and they'll still be able to build in India because US will take it back. So at the end of it, and it also weaken our stacks that we're going to put in here. So at the end of it, decided to go ahead and just, leave India, even though it is tempting there, because we also did have this guy. The fleet, I thought about, well, what about taking just the transport with 1 and here, and then having bombardments and air and all that sort of stuff. But it's a little bit trickier than that. So we got 2 subs that could hit there, 2 bombers, and 2 fighters of US that could hit there, followed by the fact that US is going to take that. So then these 5 fighters could go 1, 2, 3, 4, as well as this guy could go 1, 2, 3, 4. So with the carrier build, they could take them in there. So India just looks and feels like a trap, even though it looks easy to take right now. So we're going to skip that. I went with this because we're going to put stacks here and here, with the next turn hopefully going to here and here. And a tank would be able to come help reinforce and then be blitzing through to Moscow and or putting pressure on Kaza. So our G15, J15, we're looking to get into Novo here, sink, and put pressure on these 2, and hopefully be able to break the Kaza while still holding a dead zone up here. We'll see. So that's the big picture. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of Mediterranean, a lot of Mediterranean stuff going on here. We put the fighters in the Baltics to be able to put pressure on Moscow, but with not holding Italy, that means they can put naked transports in here and they'll be okay. So I am going to land a bomber here. That's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So at least they can't make it put naked transports there and just bring them out, but it's not going to take much to defend their med shuck this turn around either. So a lot of talking. There's just a lot of dynamics going on in this game. It's a very interesting game, I feel, but unfortunately I also feel it's a game that we're losing currently still, despite, remember that big Finland wipe we did and that nice Kazakh hit that we had. Despite all that, we're still fighting to get into this game. We're going to do this just in case he forgot to submerge his subs, which I would highly doubt, but that's where I want to go to anyways, because we're going to pick up the artillery moving over, and then next turn hopefully be able to come back out, meet these fleets together somewhat, and be able to push these guys back out again, because they're going to have the ability to come into 52, and their fighters threaten 61 again, so we're going to be fighting that again. That might be our only attack this turn, because we don't have to attack Burma this turn. believe that might be it. It's unfortunate. Again, income is just not on Japan's side right now. Ah, of course he hit. Fraggle Rock. Oh well. Not a surprise. I'm just sending a message to Terrence real quick. So in this season 46, he's got one fighter that can reach there and two subs. So I don't need these two fighters. I can send them all the way back. We're going to pull these guys back. Let's see. So 11 units per 15, you say, and he could fly those fighters in. But if he flies those fighters in, they have to land here. And with 20 units and my units I'm bringing here, that would just be landing them in a kill zone. The 14 and the tank by itself don't really have odds on the 11. I ran a calculator on there because it's all infantry, so they should be safe there. All right, so it looked like what I want. Give me him back. We'll drop him there. We've got, what, 3 units there, so we're going to put 5 infantry there. 4 plus 1 is 5, plus we're going to build one. There'll be 6 infantry here, so could he take them with this? Yes, he could, but that'll be awkward to trade, and that'd be trading off units here with letting 30-some units go behind them with the Germans coming in. So I'm hoping they don't take the battle. They could. But if they do, again, they're not sending the fighter 1, 2, 3, because then it's landing there. So they have to do it with infantry and a tank. And so they'd have to be trading some pretty heavy infantry trade in there. So I don't think they go for that. But they have surprised me plenty already. I do want to make sure. Fighter before carrier. No. Here's my standard. Hopefully my fighters would be able to kill the... I don't know why I was thinking 2 subs. There's only 1 sub that can reach there. That sub can't reach me. Oh well. I didn't want to go with the... I wanted another destroyer regardless, so it's all good. Against the 5 fighters. And we'll have 3 destroyers, so if his subs creep in, we can try to swing some arms around and hit some subs. Just double checking my numbers. 5, 6, 11:20. So, again, if they give us another opportunity to sacrifice a transfer to India or to go grab another islander, then we've got the spare transport to do that. All right, that's it. All right, so I want to go back in time a little bit here, I think, and I want to look at uh, a summary of the game and where we're at, and kind of what this means in the global map, because it's a very interesting setup right now, and allies have done just a phenomenal job throughout the game. But just a quick recap. This is just me recapping on top of my head. I didn't even go back and look at the thing, and here we are in round 15. But R1, they had a little bit of a strong R1, as I recall. They had a fair number of units in West Russia, if I remember. But then they failed to kill the transport in UK on UK1 to kill the Japan transport in 61, which that seems like that should have been a death blow. Maybe my Japan play was a little bit too soft. I don't know. I have to go back. I definitely will have to review this game at some point. But anyways, they started this heavy med shuck with the U.S. not even worrying about going up into the north. They just started dropping 8, 6, 8 units marching across North Africa, and so it became a race to Kaza in essence, where they got the Kazakh stack, and Japan needed to try to break it. And from those early results, I felt pretty good. I did some calculations out, and we were going to be able to hold and then stack here, and then that would cut off the the flow of U.S. troops being able to come in, at least until they built up enough here and here, and potentially we'd see where it was gone. But I think I would have been able to stack and then dead zone Persia, and we would have been pretty good. However, they then realized, they've been setting up. This wasn't like a one-time thing. They've been setting it up where they pulled the fleet out, the med fleet out, and that made me have to adjust, which gave them an opportunity of a 20% shot with submarines on my transports, which they took and won. And that, having to rebuild all the transports plus the lost time of shucking and that lost units coming, that was enough that the Allies were able to keep continuing to stack Kaza, and it was hit a point where we could tell that was just going to be indefinite. That we just weren't going to be able to match what they were doing. So we knew we had to do something to catch up. So that's when we started going into different parts. Like we had Finland Battle 1, which I say Battle 1 because it looks like we may end up with a Battle 2 here. And then I took a 35% shot, I think it was, on Kazakh and had success on wiping it out at that moment. And then this last round, we gave the U.S. like a 60-65%, or excuse me, Russia 60-65% shot on the Vologda German troops, and they took it. Battle went slightly in our favor, so we still have units living. And so that's what we've been trying to do. I mean, we're still behind in this game where we're trying to find ways to take 30 to 40% battles, or give, if you will, the Allies a 60 to 70% shot at winning the battle to climb back out of this hole. Meanwhile, the U.S. has been creating these fleets that's just been creating havoc and messing with Japan logistics, and they've been able to do this and still have all these units marching across the northern Africa because of all the trade. I mean, they've been trading all of the southern half of Europe as well as into Belo and West Russia. Have been in U.S. turns at different times, hands at different times. So they've been getting a lot of extra money. So they've been shucking the units, but they've also been able to build extra fighters. They've got four subs down here, 2 carriers down here, and they still have 2 carriers in here. So they've got 4 carriers running around for U.S. So just a lot going on there. So here, I got a little bit of pushback, so their transport's up here. Um, so it's no threat this turn. But if I retreat out, pull my fleet back, then the transport can come here and they can pull in the subs, the second carrier, and that fourth fighter, and a 44, and I would not be able to push them back. So that would give them the opportunity to attack Australia, and it would be hard for me to come back because again they'd have this huge fleet sitting over there. They do have a destroyer over here playing peekaboo too. So if I don't come out here, if I don't challenge them, and they come back to 44, they're probably going to get Australia and New Zealand and start picking apart some of these money islands that I have to divert tactics to. If I send everything, because he did get to 44, these two fighters are within range of 3 of 61, so they can do the suicide fighter um, bit to wipe out anything in there. So I have to leave a loaded carrier in 61 at least, or have the at least 3 destroyers sitting here. So I could send out here and try and stack 49 or 50 and push them back by having these guys and sending the 3 destroyers out and 2 fighters out here, and that would give them basically a 50-50 shot on wiping them out though with what they have here, and they'd still have this carrier sitting around that could collect any fighters that didn't die. So that's a little bit troublesome. So ultimately what I'm looking at is 48. This sub can't reach now, and it gives me like a 60% chance to live and have enough that I can still threaten 44, where if he brings all his units together, his 2 subs and his carriers, and I've got 2 fighters and I got 2 fighters, so those 4 fighters plus the fleet could hit, and a bomber, and they can't block both 50 and 49 through a destroyer because they only have 1 destroyer. That's where we're kind of looking at. But that means I'm pulling fighters into C-Zone 48 and fighters into C-Zone 61, which means that's 4 fighters that can't put pressure on Moscow. And what we're looking at here is I'm going to be moving my Japan units here to Novo, and these guys as much up to pressure and Kaza as possible. And if I had all 4 fighters and I built 2 tanks in here, I could put enough pressure on Moscow and Kaza that at least he'd have to divert almost all of his fighters into the area to hold these 2, if they're going to hold these 2, and I'd still probably have like a 35% shot at one of them. Why is that important? Because of Finland up here. Right now, if I don't put enough pressure, he can fly his fighters up here, and then this won't be these fighters, all these fighters that U.S. has floating around up here, and it could be not as profitable. So they could do that. They also, next turn, they could fly these fighters, back into Moscow and then challenge and whatnot. So they could have more flexibility with their fighters and mobility coming up and challenging this direction, as well as for trading and whatnot. So that'll affect Karelia, that'll affect Finland, and it's an entanglement that to put the max pressure up here on Kaza and Moscow, I'd have to let the U.S. fleet run wild. To hold the U.S. fleet back, then I let these guys run wild to a degree. So allies have done a great job of putting in a tough spot here. In any case, I do got to get a little more Navy to be able to sustain a challenge up here. So unfortunately, that means I'm buying a couple subs. Oops, I bought too many there. Oh, no, that is what I wanted. Dude, in my brain, I could get 11 infantry and 2 subs. The other thing too, again, we have this destroyer and these fighters, so we got to watch out for some sort of India play as well. That's the advantage. 48 at least helps me dead zone them. Sorry, I forgot to put it on pause there. I did just hit to go ahead and buy the 11 infantry 1 sub. So because I want to bring my fleet out here and minimally here, the issue is these bombers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I do need to make sure I take Burma this time. So I have to send 2. Something good he can do elsewhere, right? Getting the destroyer. 2, 3 is not good. Because I need to reach one of these. These guys could go 1, 2. And then cycle back around to here. We do need to mark this to not fight. And ultimately this is an income game, right? That's I explained how the U.S. had all that extra income, and Japan has been limited in their income this entire game, and that's what allies have done really well, is getting U.S. money, UK holding Africa because they got all these U.S. units marching through there all the time, and then holding Japan back. Now Germany has gotten a little extra money, so that's been a bonus for us, but overall allies have been winning the economic game, which is why they're winning the game overall. And I wish it was as easy to say, well, just break it. And in any case, man, I just feel like I should be doing more here. I mean, I could sacrifice for New Zealand, but he'll be able to come back to that next turn regardless, and he'll be able to recover back into either 53 or 43, which will let him sacrifice a transport into there. Trying to decide, and I'm probably going to pause again here because I thought I was all ready and my brain's now going 3 different ways. Do we want to take these transports back with us to 48 and then come back, these guys, or leave them here so that if he comes to 43 and then attaches, that they're just ready to ban without sacrificing the transport? I think we take them back. The more I think about it, we just take them back. We got extra transports because we're not able to use a full shucking up here anyways, so we'll take them back and sacrifice the transport if we have to. No, that wouldn't work because they could destroy or block us coming back and attacking. Gosh, now I gotta think a little bit more on the non-combat side. Well, let's go ahead and just get this done first. Glad we sent the 2, I guess. Okay, so those guys can reach further. So let's go ahead and land these guys. Damn. Push them forward, push them forward, push them forward. And yes, they're going to have potentially profitable strays with 9 and 9 units here that they could choose to hit with Russia if they want. But we're just going to take that risk. So now the question is the transport. So if I pull them back and then they come to here, and next turn they're going to be able to dead zone these C zones by putting fighters and or bombers in India or West USA. I'm gonna, because then if they're in here, they could sacrifice him and send a destroyer block here, which means then I couldn't do the bomber infantry artillery hit, and then they could send all their fighters in there, and then we're in trouble. So if they set it up, I'd almost have to then go ahead and send my transport back down here as a sacrifice just to put the guys back on Australia, which seems silly. But if I don't bring them up, does that mean? Kind of think I'm gonna have to leave them back here, but I'm gonna end the video here just to let you know. I'm thinking I'm probably gonna put my sub here just to help dead zone versus destroyer doing something silly that I can use this sub and planes to kill, and then the rest is gonna be the infantry build. So I'm gonna end the video here for this turn and figure out what I want to do with this infantry artillery. All right, so a lot to cover in this excuse me, last turn. So U.S., they're continuing their shuck through Africa and marching people on through there. Their next big wave to reach Kaza is sitting right here. So 16, U.S. 17, they're in there. And then it's going to just have flowing in there. Meanwhile, they've continued to trade all these southern states. They're great now because Germany's already traded them back, but U.S. is grabbing all the income from all of these. And they also built a destroyer here and a bomber here, placed a bomber here. And what that does, I did get them pushed back to 43 when they were sitting on 44, and their transport came down here. But between this and the sub and the bomber, they're dead zoning these spots. Anywhere where these guys can reach their dead zoning, without a destroyer block. I could do a destroyer block, but I mean, this isn't even a KJF. Do I want to waste destroyers on destroyer blocks? It may have to come necessary, but he's in range where he can drop his transport here, or he could come through and they could put his whole fleet and drop his transport here. So that's the the next bit that we're looking at is, okay, so what can we do to counter that? The good news is he'll then be a couple turns back from getting, any more people. Um, Meanwhile, Russia, U.S. just kept distributing here. Russia blitzed through here to grab a Venkai because that prevented Germany from their turn from flying the fighters over and landing here. We had Karelia, but they knew we were going to want to either attack Finland or stack West Russia, so that wasn't going to be a landing spot. And we didn't have any of these. We didn't have Baltic last turn, so the fighters couldn't land anywhere within 4 spaces of Moscow, and they can't fly to there, but they could have gone 1, 2, 3, 4. And the key is to try to put German pressure on Moscow. So they're doing their calculating and crunching and all that sort of stuff and figuring out what they can, and they're trying to keep their double stack as much as possible, and our goal is to break the double stack whenever possible. So that's why he went ahead and took it, even though it means he most likely is sacrificing his tank for me to kill. Let's see, UK, again, after we are actually, sorry, Germany, we chose to come in to stack West Russia so that we can put pressure from both sides of Germany on Moscow, plus the Japan units coming in to squeeze and make them have to bring more units back, and then hopefully have enough Japan units coming up here to dead zone the Kazakh territory before U.S. gets in is our goal. So, but they're trying to keep this double stack going until reinforcements arrive. So that's where we're at. So we came in here. We also stacked a Baltic so that next turn we can come back to hopefully a Karelia stack. Hopefully Japan this turn is going to dead zone Kaza, so that then next turn on J17 we move into here, so that we'll have a Kaza stack and a Karelia stack, and plug the 2 ends from reinforcements continuing to leak in here. And then it's just a matter of a race to see if we can get enough units in before they completely kill Germany, because Germany has expended a lot of its resources to help us out. So that's the long story on the recovery. I guess UK, they did prepare to try to work out stacking as much as they can, and how they can manipulate the units to their advantage, and they did take France with no losses. So Japan. 1, we can't take India because he used the destroyer block, so that's off the picture. 2, we calculated if we got all the fighters back on land where they can reach both Moscow and Kaza, can we get to a breaking point? If we build 2 tanks and have Sichuan stacked, then it's kind of a flip up. It just favors Axis, so it may be that it would be enough. A tank and a bomber should be good to do it, and 2 bombers, I feel very confident that we get enough pressure on both of these territories that they have to pull out of Kaza. And I mentioned 2 bombers because we're going to have 4 fighters sitting on the coast plus 3 bombers. And if we switch our carrier out to here, then that means 4 fighters can reach out to here, plus the 3 bombers can reach out there, plus whatever we leave in here. So we're going to flop our carriers around to put that pressure out that way. And with a 1 bomber purchase, we cannot dead zone this with the destroyer coming in and the sub coming in and all this. With a 2 bomber purchase, so that we have 4 fighters, 3 bombers, a destroyer and a cruiser is going to be back in 61, but everything else going to 44, it does dead zone. If they leave it there, we could wipe them. So they could choose to use a destroyer block, which is why they bought a destroyer, I believe, or they could settle out here or come down into here, and they'll be safe staying in any 3 of these or coming here with a destroyer block, and then next turn being able to attack either one. So we're playing this cat and mouse game continually with US, and we'll see where we go. But the bottom line, 2 bombers helps this and pushes them out of Kaza, and it helps prevent helps create a dead zone of 44. You're going to see when I non-combat, though, I'm actually going to come down to 47, because if I stay in 48, he can do the destroyer block and come to Australia, and I can't recapture it. Whereas if I'm in 47, he can't block 46, so I could still go through and drop and capture Australia or kill his units there if he dropped them. So we're going to move our stack down to 47. I do suspect, like I said, he destroyer blocks here, and or he sits here, and then next turn he could do kind of a double destroyer block or something in there. So anyways, he's got a slight advantage still going here, but I can't commit the resources yet to push them off. So purchase, we needed 2 bombers, and we're spending the rest on ground as much as we can. So we're going to have less ground units, unfortunately, but so be it. I'm going to go ahead and use the 2 units because it's advantage, and the best he can do is use 1 infantry and fighters to retake. So we're going to use the bomber, and because we're doing the 2 bomber buy, using the 2nd infantry still lets us do our goals over here. Is that really my only attack? I think that's my only attack. How sad. All that talking and all that prepping, and that's the only attack I can do. What a bummer. So I do need the destroyer cruiser because he does still have this bomber. I thought about doing 2 destroyers, but that still gives him a 20% chance of using his bomber to win that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Man, nothing else to do. Bummer, bummer, bummer. Oh well. Oh wait. Glad I slowed my roll. We gotta get rid of this destroyer here, and we're gonna send it all because we're gonna be landing them down here in Quangtung, to cover our bombers up. Whew. Good thing I slowed down for a moment. I think I stalled and talked enough. Let's go. It'd be nice to take him without any loss. Okay, it'd be nice to take him without any losses. Oh, nice. We'll be happy with that. It'd be really nice to take him without a loss too, because we need the boats. Alright, yay. A nice dice swing for us. Alright, so we got to move everything on in here to Novo to get us the most pressure we can there. Now, he's got 5 U.S. ground and 6, 7, 8, 9 U.S. air that can hit me in these spots. So that means I can't really stack both of them. And I need to keep my line alive for being able to strike both. I need all of these units being in striking distance of Kaza. So that means we're going to have to come down here to stack through there. And we're going to leave that guy open. That gives me 18, and he won't want to strike 18 units with that because that should be a disadvantage for him. We're going to put our 4 fighters down there. We're going to bring our bomber down there. go. Alright. 7. So let's see, 6 fighters. I mean, it should be an easy calculation here. So we're going to do and the other 3, dropping them in there. So that'll give me 6 infantry, 4 fighters, 3 bombers, and that should be safe against 6 fighters and a bomber, right? I mean, that's, yeah, there's nothing to compare there. Okay. Because we're counting on those fighters and bombers making it for the dead zone, and so we want to make sure we're good. And yeah, we should be fine there. I probably could put another boat here, but why when we can march them? There are 2 spots quicker getting that way, whereas if they dance from here and they dead zone, we go one. Well, they shouldn't dead zone, so we should be good. Anyways, a lot of talking to say we should be fine. I suppose we moved one more down here. I think with all that air, you know what? We're gonna change this up just a little bit. I'm gonna take one of the ones with 2. Where's my transports? I want one of my transports with 2 instead to go there, because that gives me 3 plus all the air in case he decided to do a little mini stack of some sort, moving them over. And then the rest, let's make sure. So that should be 5 units. Good. 4, 3, 3 units there. All them guys there. And so I'm going to put my 2 bombers here, 3 of my infantry here, 2 of my infantry here, and next turn 3 of my transports are going to be bored, but so be it. And I'm just going to take the time to double check all my non-com, make sure I didn't forget something here, but I'm not going to sit here and leave you on the hook while I'm watching. So that'll be it.
Okay, so here we are coming back around to Japan 17's turn. US 16, they bought a aircraft carrier, fighter bomber, and 8 infantry. Guess where that carrier went? If you said West USA in the Pacific, you would be the winner in this growing, concerning fleet here. Not only that, they went and took Wake Island, which now makes it where they can go bomber 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, land in there. So that frees up the bomber all through here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I can't go to 59, but through these guys, he certainly can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are now getting hit by the bombers range, and you notice he's getting to set up this 6 and 4. When this carrier catches up, he'll be able to get 6, and so if he gets them in range, he can just sit here and cross back and forth, and that's going to become really deadly. Not to mention he does have these 4 fighters, 2 bombers, all threatening C-Zone 61 right now, and that'll go up to 6 fighters once he gets his carrier down here as well. So definitely getting hot here. Otherwise, US traded along here, or tried to trade along here. Germany traded back. Germany did take France back, but UK then came back and retook France back. We are trying to put enough here to quasi dead zone France while we move back and stacked into Karelia.
Germany did hit one artillery versus infantry here. They both died and moved the other artillery and 5 tanks hit his infantry here. Unfortunately, his infantry hit, leaving just the 5 tanks. And UK was able to send 2 tanks, 6 fighters, and we only killed the 2 tanks in retaliation and lost our 5 tanks. So unfortunately, our German brotherhoods are now out of the area. So this is what we're looking like now. I think that's a pretty much a synopsis. But definitely, this India is in this pack. This is a sticky situation. Now they made a comment about not letting us in, but we are going to go ahead and stack Kaza. They could wipe the Kaza stack, but they have to bring all these beautiful U.S. airplanes in there to do it and lose a lot of troops or a lot of U.S. planes in order to wipe it. Not to mention, if we really wanted to, we had the possibility of flying these German planes down here, although I doubt we will bother with that. So we're going to take the opportunity and we will go there. Now, the other thing we're going to try to push this fleet back, or at the very least, make them use some destroyer blocks in here. But really just trying to get this fleet back away from 61 to give us a little bit of breathing room for a turn. So if you notice, we only got 2 infantry to shuck from Tokyo to the mainland, so we're just not going to shuck them this time. And instead, we're going to buy 7 infantry and 2 fighters that are going to go up here in preparation of potentially another carrier to then come in for protection against the growing U.S. fleet. Ooh, I almost thought I forgot to push the buttons. Okay, yep, we do want the 7 and 2. We will push there. I'm going to push all 3 in case he blitzes his tank through. We will put 1 there. We're going to come on down. And then the one other thing we're going to do, we're going to give a thank you to our Germans and see if we can at least take out 1 transport and a destroyer. Land in Berlin so that we can stop this freebie here and freebies up in 3 that he'd been using for a little bit. We're going to hope we don't lose any bombers on that attack is our big attack. Alright, no hits backs, thank goodness. I'm going to leave 2 back for trading here. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have 2 infantry. Well. Alright, so the other thing that I'm going to do, we're going to bring 1 destroyer, 1 battleship down here. The only thing that can reach me is 2 bombers. But it gives me a chance to threaten Madagascar and New Zealand, so these guys be thinking about it. But also, they're wanting to pin me into 60, these zones, so then he can drop his transport. I can't attack. Then he loads his fighters, and then Australia is basically lost for good. So here, we'll have our guys here. We'll have our bomber available. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can do it from Tokyo. Good. That way we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and not have to worry about the potential of the 2 bombers hitting 2 infantry and a bomber there. Because I think that's pretty decent odds there, right? Let's see, 2 infantry and a bomber would be an 8 versus an 8 and 3. So, yeah, no, I think he's going to be safer up there. So minus a 4, we got 6 boats. We'll have 7 planes, 13 total. He'll have up to 8, 12, 13. I believe that's what we had set up. Let me. Sorry about that. Let's see. This is. So yeah, that should be a slight advantage for us to attack if he moves his carrier in. Let's see. 2, 5. Gonna build 2 infantry here. 2, 3. 2 there. 6 going up. 3 there. 3 there. All right. Yep. That's how we go. Oh, whew. I saw the bomber there for a second. I was like, did I forget and put the fighters on there? Started to panic for a moment. And there we go. Okay, things went really, really badly. If you've watched my other videos in my rank game, I completely blundered. I feel horrible, playing a duos game and completely letting down my partner. Um, when I originally did my stack of fleet there and counted my calculations, I had this destroyer and battleship in the calculator. And then later on, I got in my head how this is going to be a good play. And then I had calculated actually at one point to put another carrier in here. And then the third time it came back to the game, and I just simply only put the 4 fighters reaching there instead of the ones that were in India being able to reach there. And that was the total screw up right there, because again, the carrier he had here could catch the other ones. And when I was doing my calculator and I did the down scroll, I took one of the subs off from attack. I just totally blundered out my calculations. Ended up giving them a 90% something or other on the fleet here. So they wiped it and got all these boats still living and took Philippines. So, I mean, it's essentially game over. I mean, we are next door here. We're knocking. We do have the flow of ground units cut off. I put it in Terrence's hands a little bit. I probably shouldn't just put it in his hands, but I said I'm good with forfeiting, or I'm good with, trying a last second shot. He said, well, let's just blitz some turns and just see what happens in a couple turns, and then we'll speed the game up. So, anyways, I'm not good at fast-paced games. They moved into here into stack in Burma. I actually was looking at coming down to Persia with my stack to make them have to come back. But the reality is, with these two fighters, I moved down here. He no longer has to have all these fighters in here. He's got fighters here, fighters here. He can have 16 fighters there, plus he still could build 3 more if he really wanted to. So he could have 19 fighters there, plus the 20 men. That's
in the AA, that's 40 units there, and I'm only going to have 44 in my air that I'm going to build, and he also had the bombers, the 4 or 5 bombers he could throw in there. The long story short, they could stack India even if I went into there. So this peninsula is just lost. Ain't nothing I can do about it. Um, Even sitting here, I need to keep the move. If we're going to make any Hail Mary shots, we got to keep the units moving. So sitting here is not going to be sending all my units here to try to stack defense here and cut these guys off from any supply. That ain't going to help. So we're really at a point where it just is. We're just going to funnel as much as we can, as quickly as we can, and then get a shot here. I was going to build a IC here, but instead I'm just going to move everybody into Caucasus. It's a weak stack, but it's a stack, and well, we'll see what he does. Maybe they take that shot. I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. We're just going to go for it. So I was looking at different ideas of buying subs over here, where I could, since his destroyer is off, and I could place subs in here and be able to really kind of push people off of here. But instead, subs aren't going to help this at all, right? So we're just going to buy max ground for our 5 here, and we're going to buy air that's going to eventually help over here. So I don't know if this is the right move. I'm just moving kind of fast and saying, oh well. I thought about hitting here, but I'm going to kind of a very weak stack. I really want these bombers on the coast. So getting distracted to hit here, putting them here, doesn't help with my dead zoning that I'd like. Actually, I think we're going to take at least a one shot on them. Again, I may be miscalculating things. We're going to go ahead, try and pull his fighters down this way. He can kill them. All 4 fighters and the carrier can reach there. He really needs to send 3 fighters and a carrier to be comfortable. So he can wipe it, but at least I'd pull his fleet down here, and maybe I can build something up here. I don't know. Maybe not. I honestly really don't know. I do want to make sure I kill his... Whoa, hold up. Make sure this is... I want to make sure I'm hitting the sea zone, not the land. There we go. I hate the fact that I've blown this game. Rats. Oh, did I miscount? I miscounted, didn't I? Crapola. Man, I am just... I am just goofing games up left and right. I think we needed that artillery to come here. Man. Alright, so I want to try to protect the bomber. That's going to give me 11 infantry. I'm going to put my tank down here to help. I was going to put my tank up there. I am horrible at this game right now. Alright. There we go. Stop there.
Oh, sorry. This is the end here. Just doing a Hail Mary to try to kill this. I didn't expect, and I didn't calculate when we were rushing. Like I said, this is just trying to rush in this, and if something happens, something happens. But he wiped out my 2 bombers, my infantry, my tank, my 2 bombers by sending his 6 fighters there. I didn't even think about him considering sending a Russian fighter there. So this is just a Hail Mary, and unless this goes very well, this is end game here because they now are cleaning up the islands. Come through here, he'll take DEI. This guy's gonna take here or Australia, and then here, and then this is all gonna be cleaned up pretty quickly. And I ain't got any transports to take it back, so I did buy just in case 5 infantry, a sub, and 2 bombers. I can place a sub down here without, or sub here without destroyer being able to get to it yet. And then 2 bombers. Hopefully some bombers live from this, and maybe we can do something. Not really expecting much. This is the farewell. Again, I hate losing on a stupid blunder like I did. And not only did I blunder once, I blundered twice actually in that turn with the calculators. So. That pause, I felt like I was getting a hit there. Reset. Hit. Oh, he got the hit. Ooh. That's it. All right. Uh, ugly end board state, obviously. Um, I just wanted to give a quick synopsis. I don't always do it, but I just wanted to give a quick synopsis of the game and how it went and everything. So it was an interesting strategy that the Allies took, marching all these units across Africa and creating this chain that went in all the way up to Kaza. They had a lot of units here, so letting them trade very heavily across all the southern Europe here. Um, and then, of course, the Pacific Fleet building up and creating issues for Japan, which ultimately led to the complete collapse. Um, the process of the game, though, I thought was very interesting. The two main battles that I think really defined this game was UK won when they failed C Zone 61, and that gave me the upper hand and made them have to pull out to stack India and and then move it to a Kaza bit, and that also meant that they knew they needed to do something to come back, right? You know, they had to give up West Russia, and so they knew they were going to have to do. That's a tough loss. They're behind. That put them behind a good bit, so they're going to have to do something to come back. And that's when they started. From that point, they started that play from when they built I think it was two U.S. subs, and they overstacked the med, and I completely overlooked that. It was a great play. Not it's something I've done with pulling this med fleet out. I just did not think about it, but they're already kind of planning that. And then the second battle that really gave them the green light is down when I had that battleship sitting down here, and they took the bomber, which I did overlook the fact that the bomber could reach them, and the sub. But if you go back into the video and you look, I really didn't have anything else I could do there. I think, and it was a 50-50 battle for the bomber and sub versus a battleship. So I probably would have done it anyways. But the fact that he killed the battleship without losing anything there um, led even more to the headaches. I never appreciated the Japanese battleship and what was a KGF ended up being a KJF-ish double duo ocean. I mean, I don't even know how to define it. It ended up just being a dominant at the end, obviously. But anyways, I never appreciated that. But that lacking of a battleship really allowed this Med fleet poke out, let them be more aggressive with the U.S. And one battleship makes a huge difference. And so then they did that bit that that gave them the ability to pull that med trick out. Um, Pointed out that potentially I could have sent just a destroyer block. It stayed back in here, and they could have got DEI. But I had looked at it, and they were gonna if I did that, they were gonna be able to pull just kill the destroyer, come over here, and I'd still be in the same boat, and I'd have two ways to get to DEI. So um, I'm not sure I could have played it any different. It came down to he had a 20% shot um, with his subs versus was it a destroyer and two subs or something like that. I forget exactly. Go back into it versus my fleet there. I was willing to give him a 20% shot. It was perfect sense for them to take it because it was just U.S. subs. They won it. You know, 1 in 5 times it's going to happen. And then that cut us off. I do kind of think if they hadn't cut us off that we were going to break Kaza, either get a Novo stack, in which case they'd have to pull out, or break Kaza on Japan 9, which was right before the big US 8 infantry clump was going to make it. And I think once we cut that off and Germany had this cut off, that it was going to put them, they're going to have a lot of US units sitting along here, was my initial thought that would just go to waste. But then again, they had all these transports that they could just grab and go and grab and go. And because they had such a big fleet, they could have kept these two sea zones still stacked, and they could have still been trading all of this, while at the same time go ahead and start pivoting the rest of the U.S. back over either towards France or to Finland and going that route. So very interesting ally setup. I think it has some potential. I had to play it once or twice more and not have the UK, not have C Zone 61 fail, and not give up my battleship and see how exactly it plays out. I'd be interested to play against that setup a few more times and just see how it rolls out. Absolute credit to Amund and Julius for excellent play. Um, you know, I definitely I got schooled a little bit on the Japan side here, and I feel bad letting Terrence down. He played excellently, and I think we did a good job. I forgot when we were down, when we lost those transports, we did a good job of taking the battles. We took the 30% on Kaza with good dice. We needed to. We used Germany's excessive strength that they had to walk around and hold Japan's hand into breaking Kaza and then getting them back. They took a gamble on a Volstat, which we debate. They think it was a good gamble. I don't think it was such a good gamble in the position they were in, but we were happy we won that one too. And so we were really starting to kind of claw back into it. And we just need like one, maybe two more um, moderate sized battles go our way, and we could have been back into this if I hadn't goofed up and blundered on my fleet over here. So, all right, it was a great game. I definitely appreciate Terrence for the whole duo season. Appreciate Julius and Terrence and their game and waking up a great game. And wish them the best of luck in the championship.